to say I stand against anti-Semitism. That seems very clear and easy.
How aware are you when you're meeting people? Maybe this person's seen me naked.
How small Israel is. This is what there's been so much fighting over.
What do you think it says that you have so many close friends who are Jews?
I would say I'm Jewish adjacent. How's that?
Hello, and a happy 2026 to all of you. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season, maybe some family time, vacation time, some much-needed R&R. I had a lovely vacation in Mexico where I got certified in scuba, which is pretty cool, but want to do that for a while. And I spent a ton of time in the water. No Hamas down there, but they do have Islamic Jihad. Islamic Jihad. Hey, what do you call a fish who hates Jews? An anti-Semite. Why do all the anti-Israel haters in the UN love sushi? Because they like their fish unraw. Unraw. What was the name of Israel's underwater military operation after October 7th? Operation Iron Swordfish. Okay, one more. What is the most beloved fish in Israel? The blue and white fin tuna. Oh! I didn't write a monologue this week, but I did write a bunch of underwater Jew puns. I'm like a regular Judah mackerel bee over here. All right, let's get to today's spectacular guest, who, without a doubt, every person watching this show will know at a glance. She has one of the most famous faces in pop culture history. She rewrote the book on what's possible to achieve in fashion and modeling. She is a hugely successful businesswoman across multiple verticals, and she stayed grounded, dignified, and highly respected through it all. This we know, but what you might not know is what an amazing ally she is to the Jewish people. Whether by raising her kids in an interfaith household, amplifying the stories of Holocaust survivors, or helping save a legendary delicatessen, she has repeatedly used her voice and public persona to stand by the Jewish community with clarity and conviction. She's not just an icon, she's a whole dang institution, and I am delighted to be kicking off the new year with her right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the supermodel of all supermodels, Miss Cindy Crawford. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That was quite the introduction.
You know, it's all worth it and all true.
And I don't have any fish puns, sorry.
No, it's fine. I think I covered all of them.
I do. I think you do too.
So when I first started the show, I had my big sort of guest wish list and didn't think to put Cindy Crawford on it. First of all, because I didn't know that we'd ever cross paths. But second of all, I didn't know that you were someone that I should have on that list. And third of all, once I did realize that, I actually reached out to your team, got an immediate no, which was not the case when I got to see you in person. You gave me an immediate yes, I'd love to, took 2 seconds. And that's actually something that's happened to me, and I know other Jewish content creators quite a bit, where the artist says yes, but the reps say no. And I'm just curious, what do you think that's about?
I mean, who knows? But thing
I have
could
some
just be,
ideas.
So I was going to say, one thing could just be like, I get a lot of podcast requests, but normally things get passed by me. I think probably, and I think this might be what you're alluding to, is that, for most of my career, which I've been in the spotlight for now, almost 40 years, haven't really gotten involved in politics or divisive issues. And my team probably wants to keep it that way. And what is crazy to me, and even in your intro saying that I'm such an ally, I don't really feel like I've done anything special. But that people in the grocery store come up to me and, they're like, thank you so much for, speaking out. And I'm like, I'm just speaking out as a human being. It's so crazy to me that just a very small, doing a photograph with a Holocaust survivor is somehow controversial.
Yeah. I
think about how I was raised, in the Midwest, I didn't know a single Jewish person growing up. I mean, we were the Catholic or Protestant. I was Protestant. I am Protestant. But even being that kind of closed off and everyone's similar, in some ways, I think that when I did move to New York or the city, and literally all my friends are Jewish in New York, I was just open. I was just a nice Midwestern girl, open. There was no conflict about that. And even, my husband's Jewish, and neither family had a conflict about that. So the fact that we're going backwards somehow, it's shocking. I don't understand it.
It's frustrating from my point of view where I sit, where, as you said, taking a picture with a Holocaust survivor, shouldn't be controversial. It isn't. Well, we'll get into it. I
Okay.
actually want to save it. But, that's just sort of human kindness, right? But there's, I think, the perception, sadly, that even touching something Jewish, having nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with current events, quite the opposite, is quote unquote controversial.
When I was posting something, I think with Noah Tishby, we did something for Hanukkah last year.
Yeah.
And someone was like, you're going to want to turn off your comments. And I was like, I don't think that my followers are going to be hateful. And honestly, they pulled through for me.
Love to hear that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, it depends who your audience is, but my audience was totally in alignment with where I am. And maybe like some young artist or whatever, maybe they feel like, wow, if I do this, I'm going to lose my core audience. I don't feel that, but I'm also at a point in my career where I think being authentic to who I am is more important than if someone is not going to like what I have to say.
Yeah.
And I certainly am not trying to shove any politics in anyone's face. As I said before, I'm just like, it's like a human instinct.
You were eating a jelly donut.
Yeah, exactly. If I was really cool, I would know how to say that name, like Sunafakut or whatever.
Pretty close. Okay. Suf Ganiyot.
Okay, see, there's no way I would get that, but yes.
You were halfway there.
I got the first.
You definitely get credit.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about your kind of Jewish journey that you've been on, which, I'll take us back to 1998. And you, as you mentioned, your husband is Jewish, Rande Gerber. Mm-hmm. How much exposure did you have to the Jewish community, like inside the community before that marriage?
Oh, a lot.
A lot. Through your friend circle.
I think even, starting at one of my really good friends at Northwestern, her mother is a Holocaust survivor. Her mother was raised in Israel. She currently lives in Jerusalem. Her name is Ruthie. Well, Ruthie, but Ruthie.
Shout out to Ruthie.
And yes, and I like whenever I was having to do like my first Seder plate or whatever, I would always call her, and we would jokingly call her Dial Jew.
Nice.
Because like she would tell me like what I needed on the plate, because this was before the internet. And now I could just like go on YouTube and make it
right.
perfect.
Hey Google, what goes on the Seder plate?
So through her, and then when I moved to New York, one of my best friends who was raised in Minnesota, she's Jewish, she's a makeup artist, Sonia. One of my first girlfriends I met in New York, Karen, she's Jewish. And so like I went to their nephew's bar mitzvahs and I would do Passover with them, or my favorite one is Rosh Hashanah.
Nice. That's one of my favorites too, for sure. Why is that your favorite?
It's just more of a celebration. And I love, it's just like I love Thanksgiving the most of like American holidays, because there's not the pressure of gift giving and it's not a heavy holiday. It's just an excuse to get people together and have tradition. And I think Jewish culture is so full of that. And that is, and even like my friend Ruti, like she is Orthodox, so she does Shabbat, and like I can't talk to her from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. And just like her explaining to me, she was raised that way and she has raised her own children that way, like how much benefit that she personally gets from having that unplugged time with her family.
Yeah.
It's not something I do, but I'm interested. I'm a lifelong student. So like learning about Judaism or the cultures of Judaism, that's interesting for me. Even when, for instance, when my son was born, I have my kids at home. So you don't, like when you have your kids at home, they don't just automatically do a circumcision. And I wouldn't probably have gotten my son circumcised because you're like this perfect little baby. My husband's like, we're getting him circumcised. Like that was a non-negotiable. But I said, if we're going to do it, I want it to mean something then. Like, so we did do a bris. I had never been to a bris before.
Wow.
By the way, I think I almost passed out.
The moms do not like the bris. I mean, that's across the board.
Yeah. I loved, the symbolism, the ritual, the idea that it means something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. something else you did back in the day, in 1992, you visited Israel for a Capizio shoot. A bunch of amazing photos of you there. What do you remember about what it felt like to be there back in 92?
A few things I remember is we were there on Shabbat, and then I remember like the elevator had like all the buttons were already pressed already or something because you couldn't press.
You have the Shabbat elevator situation.
Okay, I remember that. And then, I mean, I remember shooting, but really what I remember more is I stayed a few extra days, and my friend Ruti, like she took me around and we did Masada and we did the bath, the Dead Sea, where you cover yourself with mud, and just went to some more local places too. I always love seeing any country through someone who lives there.
Of course.
So I think I remember those things as much as the photo shoot. The photo shoot was kind of the excuse to get me there.
Yeah.
And then I think the one thing that I was really shocked by, and this just says a lot about maybe how American education, we don't do a great job on educating about things outside of America, I think, but how small Israel is.
Yeah.
That you can like drive the whole country in a day. You're like, wait, this is what we've like, there's been so much fighting over, and it's, it's just such a it's not even close to the size of California, right? It's like tiny.
How did that impact the way you felt about the people, the culture, the place?
When you get to go to any place, like on a photo shoot, like you kind of come in, the red carpet's rolled out for you. I'm like in full glam. So of course, like the young soldiers, they were happy to see me. It was
Can't
like,
imagine.
It's
a dream come true.
25-year-old Cindy Crawford, and so, but everywhere we went, even like when we went with the Bedouins and we went, more in the desert, like everyone, first of all, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful country. And, everywhere we went, like they were happy to have us there and be in the photographs with me. And it was a great trip. And I think that, especially meeting the soldiers and knowing that everyone in that country, like my friend, and this is going to be all about Ruthie because she has 3 sons. Now she's American. She could come back. And after October 7th, I was like, are you thinking about moving back? Because she knows like her kids are, one just turned 18, one's 16, one's 14. But they don't want to. Like they all want to be there. And you really got that that sense of pride and that sense of service, I think. And community. I think probably that everyone has to be in the Army. It really probably leads to like everyone is marching toward the same goal, or everyone has this common belief like this. And I know that the Supreme Court there and people marching and it's like any country.
They got issues.
But I do feel like the United States is so big and so spread out, and maybe not, we don't feel as aligned as maybe people in a smaller country who've all served in the military.
Totally. And I think it's not even just specific to Israel, but to all countries. Finland has mandatory service, and any place where you're part of that and you're part of this bigger whole, I think is amazing. And you see it, and it sort of really affects the whole vibe there, and the way people realize they're a part of something more is like a beautiful thing.
Right.
I wish we had some kind of mandatory service in this country. Yeah, just service.
It doesn't have to be military service.
And it doesn't have to be there either. There are other ways that you do service for the country.
Right.
But just by being a part of that, you realize you're part of this community, this whole, and it's not every man for himself all the time.
Yes.
It's a good thing.
Yes.
I also read while you were there, you attended a random bar mitzvah. Is that true?
I think what it might be is there was a bar mitzvah in the hotel
going on while you were there.
And like someone was like, hey, go say hi to the bar mitzvah boy. And I just probably came in and,
made his night.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So let's go back to your marriage. You've been married almost 30 years.
Yes.
How did the Jewish aspect of your relationship start showing up in your life? I mean, you married a Jewish guy, but, what does that look like?
Right. Well, my husband is not very religious, I guess.
Like not super observant.
No.
Right.
I put it this way. I know way more about Jewish tradition than he does.
Why do you think that is?
Again,
for you, I mean.
Oh, because I don't like empty ceremony, right? So if I am hosting Passover, I want to.
You're not just doing it because we do it. You want
and I want to understand it, and then I kind of did my abbreviated Haggadah or whatever, what the parts that I think are meaningful to because like there was no way my family was sitting through 3 hours of that.
I get it.
Even though we had the Folgers one too that everyone else has, like I have the blue Folgers coffee one that my mother-in-law gave me.
Oh, amazing.
Religion truly never came up until right before we got married, and we met with a pre-marriage counselor who kind of she has you talk about the things that she thinks couples don't talk about before they get married.
That's going to come up later and cause
Yes.
a conflict if you don't talk about it.
Yes.
At the time.
And one of them was religion, and not even just like how it affects the two of you, but if you have children.
Sure.
So that was the first time that we really talked about it, and we came to an understanding, because I actually was raised like Congregationalist, which is like a kind of Protestant.
Okay.
And went to church every Sunday, and I think probably had more connection to my faith than Rande. I don't know if that's true now, but let's say then.
Mm-hmm.
So we just decided like we would do exposure to both. Like I had no problem having both. Like to me, it was just more holidays, more things to celebrate, more reasons to get the family together. And I was like, yeah, if our kids want to get bar mitzvah, great. The thing I love about bar mitzvah, and this goes back to what I love about the traditions, is that, and I just was at a bar mitzvah, is that it's the one time in your life where you're recognized just for being you. Not because you graduated, not because you got married. It's just like you. It's like recognizing you as an individual human being. And I love that. So... And even my son still, he says he wants to go to Israel to get bar mitzvah. So who knows? Maybe one day he will.
This is one of the sort of big topics within the Jewish world in 2026 that we talk about, which is, you know, how to be more inclusive. Or if you're, you know, extra religious, it's like there's too much exclusivity and they're not, you know, they feel like they need to keep the gate down. And I think it's so important to keep the gate as open as possible.
Yeah,
and
I've never felt any of my friends, I feel like they're just very welcoming, and they
Good.
want, like, especially like with like Friday night dinner or whatever, it's like the more the merrier,
Totally.
you know, and it doesn't have to be, it can be it can look very different
Yes,
for different people.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting that that is a topic of conversation because, you know, like I was lucky because my husband didn't even ask me to convert. He didn't, his mother didn't. Like, I think a lot of times it's not even the spouse
Yeah.
that wants you to convert. It's like the in-laws.
Yeah, well, so when I told my wife, we had a unique origin story where we were basically like in love before we even went on a date.
Okay.
And on our first date, I said, I feel like we're going to get married. If we get there, would you be open to talking about converting?
Mm-hmm.
And she
Didn't they
said,
make a TV show about this? No, just kidding.
right? Seriously, it's like, you know, I'm thinking, I've got some ideas. But she said, yes, but I have to see that this is you talking and not your parents, and that this is important in your life and not just because your family said you got to marry a Jewish girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I get that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Weekly shout out to Courtney.
Why was it important to you that your wife converted?
A couple reasons. I would say, you know, it is so much a part of my day-to-day life. And even
Like, do you keep kosher kitchen?
I do not keep kosher.
Okay.
So for me, it's less about the, you know, the laws and how many of them I follow, and more about the values and the, you know, the lineage, like being a part of this tribe that has continued to exist for all these thousands of years. I mean, it's a little bit, you know, I think of things like Dances with Wolves or Avatar. You know, it's like you kind of want I wanted her to like be in the tribe,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And just so that we would really be on the same page on everything as we raised a family. And, you know, I know it's different for different people. Some people, it's like, as long as the kids are being raised a certain way, what the individual does doesn't matter. But for me, I knew it was so much a part of who I and my family are.
That it would just...
That it would be, like, I just wanted her to speak the same language all the time and, you know, be thinking the same things and feeling the same things.
I think you told me she was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess, like, it would have been interesting if my husband did ask me to convert, because I don't know, because I have a strong faith of my own. Like, I wouldn't know, like, how to
navigate
that.
So she was on this podcast. You can watch the whole, we talk all about this,
Okay.
but really for her, and it's, you know, it's unique to the individual,
Yeah,
but
of
for
course.
her, like what she connected to most was with her religion was faith in God, which is the same.
Yes.
And tradition and family and holidays and like all of that stuff. So it wasn't like very strongly based in a belief in Jesus as a savior, or something that was sort of, immutable with the Jewish side of things theologically. And part of the deal was she was like, I'm open to talking about converting, but we celebrate Christmas with my parents every single year, which we do. And my house has gotten more and more festive for like the winter holidays.
Right.
I still have like lines that I draw, but we have the most decorative, like, winter wonderland.
Right.
We have all the Hanukkah ornaments.
Yeah.
Like, so she gets to sort of scratch the same itch.
Yes. It's funny because when we got married, we were just going to get like a justice of the peace or something. And I was like, that doesn't feel right to me. And I, at the time, was going to a church in Malibu Presbyterian, and I loved the minister there. And I was like, I really want, Dave Worth to do this, to marry us. And my husband was like, well, if you have your minister, I want my rabbi. I'm like, fine. Who's your rabbi? You have not gone to temple once. And he's like, well, no, I don't have a rabbi. You're right. And he's like, he was fine with it, which I really appreciated it. But he was like, just can't mention Jesus. Right. So you have these negotiations.
Totally.
And I'm like, no problem. And my minister was like, I'll wear a yarmulke if you want. Like he was like, he wanted us both to feel good and honored. But at the very end, he was like, in the name of the Father, the Son. And with that, I swear, like, my husband looked at me and I was like, he didn't say Jesus. He just said the Son.
Could have been anybody.
You have to give each other grace in those moments too, because you do come from different, ideas about. And I think like in my house, especially with my mother was very, I wouldn't say religious, but had a very strong faith. And she was raised Baptist. And then she started going to my dad's church when they got married. And then I lost a brother. He was 2 when he got diagnosed and almost 4 when he died. But like during that time, without having a church community and without having a strong faith, like I don't know how my mother would have survived that. And so we were very familiar with people coming and laying on of hands and praying on my brother. And like after my brother passed, like how the church community just like put their arms around us and took care of everything. So that's kind of where I was coming from, and that's very meaningful to me. So, trying to just honor each other. It's navigating that thing. And I feel blessed that we both had family that was like not judgy or, they were very welcoming.
That's huge.
Yeah.
We mentioned, thinking about the kids and how you're going to raise your kids. You have 2 kids, Presley and Kaya. What did being a parent like add Jewishly to your life as you guys are doing this interfaith thing together?
Well, I think it's more in our understanding of the world. And especially, I think that comes up like when someone dies, like when Randy's father died. It's like, how do you talk about that to children? I mean, our kids were younger, much younger then. Or we had a friend who passed away. And how we would navigate it is like, well, this is what I believe. And this is what Dad believes.
What's the difference in afterlife belief?
I think because my brother died when I was very young, I had to think about it very young. And I'm very lucky that the way my mom explained it to us, it helped me, what she said is like, you know what, we're all here to do something. And I guess Jeff, that was my brother's name. Yeah. I guess Jeff he did it already. And now he gets to go be with Jesus. And when you do what you're here to do, when that's done, then you get to go be with Jesus. So that was very helpful to the 10-year-old me. I don't think that Randy experienced that kind of loss when he was a child. So he never had like a simplistic view of, well, what happens? And then his dad died like 15 years ago. And I think that was like the first time he really had to figure that out. And I think that he feels, I don't know, but I feel like he feels like there's something else, but doesn't really have a name for it.
In Judaism, we call it olam haba, which is just the world to come. It's not like this is a heaven and this is it's just the other side kind of vibe.
Right. The next thing. Like I always say, like, this body it's like a car that we're driving around for our earthly experience. And then at a certain point, like the car poops out and like whatever, let's say we're the engine, that engine goes somewhere else, As a Christian, I believe, it is more in the realm of like there's, if you have faith, you have a certain thing. But I don't know. But that's my faith, right?
That's what faith's all
Yes,
about, not
exactly.
knowing. What are some of your favorite Jewish traditions with your family that you've discovered along the way?
We got these finger puppets when the kids were little of the plagues.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen those? They're hilarious. Like,
There's so many little tchotchkes
yes.
related to the plagues.
And
Yeah.
so like when we do that for Passover, like I still have them. They're so funny. I like breaking the glass at weddings. I like the chair at
Yeah,
weddings.
it's a
We
good
did
time.
that at our wedding. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We broke the glass too, even though we got married on the beach. So it was very hard for my husband to break the glass.
I feel like the
that
chair,
symbolize again?
the glass,
Is
is
it
that like, what do you think?
Well, at one point I thought it was like kids or something.
No, it's not as joyful as that.
Okay.
The chair thing, I feel like everyone who has the opportunity to opt into the chair opts into the
Yeah,
chair.
yeah, that's fun. It's a little terrifying, I have to say,
Yeah.
especially if like my family didn't grow up doing that. I don't necessarily trust those men to make sure
Right.
that I didn't fall.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
They got no
exactly.
experience.
You need experienced
That's
chair
right.
lifters.
Right. You need the best is when you've got, a nice, like a college age kind of, or
Yeah.
post-college mayor. You got all the young 20-year-old
Yeah,
guys
and they're just
getting
like,
up
yeah.
there. Yeah, they're ready to go.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know if this has come up for you guys in this sort of post-October 7th world that's been so hostile to Jews. Do you have conversations about that with your adult children about, navigating that?
I think for my son, it's definitely made him like lean more into feeling Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
I think for my daughter, it was like, wait, other people my age think differently about this. It was like that. I think that was like the first time where maybe some of her friends, and I don't even want to say it's a political issue, but
Right.
it's like, wait, some of my friends are thinking this way about it, and I think this way about it. And because I think before that, she mostly was having the same feelings about, pro-choice or whatever things
Yeah.
that all of her friends were having. And then all of a sudden, this was a little bit divided. I think everyone talked about it. And yeah, and I think each one of us has kind of handled it or shown up or done what we feel resonates with us. I had read Noah Tishby's book on Israel
Mm-hmm.
just as a, like, what the heck is going, like, just as like
I recommend it all the time on the show. It's such a great
It
sort of
is.
primer that anybody can read and understand of like,
Exactly.
what the heck's going on here?
yes. And obviously it's pro-Israel.
It's pretty fair-handed in how it
Yes,
deals with
that's what I'm
things.
saying.
It
But
really
like,
is.
if someone else wrote it, it might not have that be considered as pro-Israel, but because Noah,
Right.
it's like automatically it's pro-Israel because Noah wrote it. But I really liked it. And I think that's when I started following her. And then October 7th happened. And obviously she was doing so much reporting on that. And
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Noah, by the way.
Yeah.
Been on this show before.
I'm
We love
sure.
Noah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's amazing. And then, we kind of, I think, became like, Instagram friends or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone reached out to me about doing that project, the Borrowed Spotlight
Yes.
project. And that felt like something tangible that I could do because the whole idea of it was like stopping hate. Like, who can argue with that? If you argue with that, then like we're not going to have a productive conversation.
Right.
So,
All right. So we'll get into more
Okay.
Borrowed Spotlight. But before we get there,
okay.
let's talk about New Year, New Voices, which was a video you did on Instagram in 2024, even before you did Borrowed
Oh,
Spotlight.
yeah, that's right.
You
I forgot.
remember?
I did.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
We didn't forget, Cindy.
Oh.
It's important, for us, like all of those moments matter so much, like you said. And I hear this from a lot of allies. We had this guy on here, Chris Campbell, who is like a food content creator, and he ate babka and was like, this is great. And now he's like the king of the Jewish community.
Right,
And he's like,
right.
all these people are loving me. I just ate the food, dude.
Right.
But like, it's so isolating and hostile out there that when anybody shows just any sort of recognition and humanity and kindness, it's so appreciated. So you were in this video with a bunch of other celebs just saying, I'm against anti-Semitism. And that's it. It's like, 5 seconds.
I know. And how, like, obviously I forgot about it. Like, that's how simple that
Right.
seemed to me. But, I think because of like my friends that I was talking about, like live in New York, like Sonia and Karen and other friends, like they've told me stories that their kids don't have their Jewish stars out, or they change their last names on their Uber
Yeah.
so that they don't sound Jewish. And, my kids are half Jewish. So I'm like, wait, how are we in a world Like, how is that happening? I mean, in the United States,
Yeah.
like in New York City.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm just so like, I think I'm like in shock. And in a way, I don't want to think it's real, but then you see real things happening on the news. So you have to let it in, even though you don't want to, obviously. Like, it's mind baffling to me that this is a reality that we're living in today.
Yeah.
And I have to say, social media is just poison for this issue. It's so easy to spew hate behind a keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there are people that would be that hateful across a table, but not near as many as are that hateful online.
Totally.
And I think when I started seeing it in my feed, it was like, wow, there's a shift here. There's something really scary happening.
In some ways, like what I want to say is I'm glad you're seeing that in your
Mm-hmm.
feed, because some people, they're living in a completely alternate universe. So
Mm-hmm.
at least you're getting enough of the real world to
Mm-hmm.
know sort of what's real and what
Mm-hmm.
isn't.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. And
Yeah,
they very literally have think the world is one way when it's another, which is scary.
I was aware of the term anti-Semitism, but I never experienced anyone being anti-Semitic. Somehow, maybe people had these thoughts inside, and now they think it's okay to say.
I think all of that's true.
Yeah.
There's no real consequence for doing it. In fact, a lot of the time there's a reward for doing it. So if you're not disincentivizing people, there's no reason they're going to stop.
Right.
So we got our work cut out for us over here, Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into borrowed spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the what, the how, the why. What is it? How'd you get involved, and why did you do it?
Yeah, I think the photographer, Bryce, reached out to me again, I think on Instagram. And it wasn't to focus on October 7th, but it was just like to try to do anything we can to like come together and stop hate. And so he said he's doing a book project where he's photographing Holocaust survivors, which, they're getting up there. Like Ella, the woman that I was photographed with, she just had her 99th birthday.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I went. It was amazing.
Oh, that's so
She had
great.
120 people there. I was like, Ella.
Popular woman.
Yeah, she's still totally like with it.
Unbelievable.
He said, would you be interested in like being photographed with her? And then also they filmed us meeting and her sharing her story with me. And he was just kind of snapping and videotaping during that. And then he did a book, and then he did big blown up photographs for an exhibition, I think, in New York. The cool thing was they filmed us meeting. Like, we didn't say hello beforehand. Like, I was already on set when they brought her, or she was on set when they brought me. Like, they captured us meeting on camera. I mean, she had no idea who I was. And I think I said this.
Come on.
No, she was like, I mean, she's 98. She's not.
You didn't show up yesterday.
Anyway, she didn't.
That's
and
impressive.
I loved it. And so, we were talking and she was sharing her story. And like at first I was like, oh, my husband's Jewish. And I said, I make a great shiksa brisket. And she's like, don't say shiksa. Because I always thought shiksa was funny. But I think to maybe an older generation, it's not a very nice term.
Right. I think
that
that's right. I think it
Like
used to be used more derogatorily against non-Jewish
And I was always
women.
like, I'm a shiksa. Like, I was practically like,
that's more how it's used now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, your husband should call you Shana Poonam.
Oh.
So I love that. Once she explained what it means, which it means pretty face.
Yeah.
But no, she didn't know who I was, which was cool. So we just started talking about like as mothers, she lost both of her sisters, and her parents. And then she somehow got placed in Minnesota. So then I grew up in the Midwest too. So then we were talking about Minnesota, and just she was funny because she lost her entire family. And then she was talking about being in Minnesota, and they were staying with a family, like I guess Jewish families in Minnesota sponsored people. I never knew that part of the history of like how everyone got here, and how she even, I think, stayed in Auschwitz for like a few months after, but they weren't being prisoners just until they could figure out
I don't know if it would have been Auschwitz
Okay, or
itself, but like a
or
refugee camp. Yeah.
She said it wasn't like that different, but obviously there weren't German soldiers there. It was
Right.
just like they were in this holding area, and
Right. I didn't know what to do with all these people.
she met her husband.
Right. A lot of marriages came out of those
Yeah.
post-war camps.
Yeah, and I that makes so much sense because like who else could understand what
Yeah.
you're going through?
Exactly.
But then she ended up in Minnesota, and she was staying in someone's attic, and she's like, "It was the worst." And she said there was bats in the ceiling. I'm like, Ella, you just came from like a concentration camp. And she's like, well, it was the worst at the time,
Right.
because like then that was the past. And that's what was so amazing about her is she does not have bitterness. I mean, you heard her speak when we were at that event, and
Yeah.
she is just, she's incredible because she just is, she's still at 99 looking forward. I mean, I think the reason she had 120 people at her birthday and she's getting awards and doing all these things is because she has a purpose, which is educating. She's still meeting with school kids once a week and speaking at the museum. And I think that gives her a real purpose. And
Yeah.
she has a great family around her and, an extended family. And she's so amazing to me because she's not bitter.
I wonder if she was like that the whole time. Was that the sense you got? Or it's sort of like a wise in my old age, I've let go of the old.
No, I get the sense of that's how she moved forward. And I think that a lot of those survivors, they don't like to talk about it.
Yeah.
And some do, and that's how they heal. And she's one of those. And
Yeah.
just who she is in the world. Like I have a similar feeling about my own mother because like she lost a son and my parents split up. And I used to call her Pollyanna, and not as a compliment. And then I realized when I became an adult, like, wow, that's a choice. That's a choice how to live, is to choose to see the good side, because it's very easy. And especially like you listen to the news and you're just like, oh, it's so easy to like get bogged down in it. And somehow you have to find your way out of the negativity and move forward. And I think that Ella was a great example of that for me.
That's amazing. What do you hope somebody takes with them when they see the Borrowed Spotlight project or hear Ella's story? Other than you doing it because you felt it was the right thing to do, what do you hope other people can get from your involvement and the project as a whole?
I think what's scary to me is like the Holocaust deniers. I mean, these people are going to be gone soon, like the firsthand accounts. So I think it's just like marking that in as many ways as we can. But also her attitude of like, she did not let what happened to her define her, ruin her. And I think we all need that. Like we all need that inspiration and hope.
Yeah, big time. So you mentioned we were at an event together.
Mm-hmm.
This was the Holocaust Museum LA Gala.
Yes.
I was there getting an award for advocacy, which I was very proud about.
Uh-huh.
And you and Ella were there together getting an
Yes.
award of courage, which was awesome. What did that honor mean for you?
There was no way I was not showing up for that because I wanted to do it for Ella.
Yeah. We mentioned your mommy group. You've been talking about, your other Jewish friends you've had throughout your life. Maybe there's nothing to read into it, but what do you think it says that you have so many close friends who are Jews?
I live in New York and LA.
You think that's it? Just proximity?
No. I don't know. That's interesting. I like good people. I don't think any person has ever asked me my religion to see if they're going to be friends with me or not.
Right.
And I would never do the same.
Sure, of course.
You could be friends with someone a long time and religion never come up. Don't you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, not for me.
Well, I mean,
well, just because I wear my Jewishness so much on my sleeve, it would be almost weird if it didn't come up right away.
Right.
I mean, I wear this everywhere I go all day long.
But like I wear a cross and people don't go, oh.
If you and me were having dinner, like I would definitely ask you about it at some point. Not just because I'm a curious person. And if you're wearing it, whatever it was, if you're wearing a football, I'd be like, what's so meaningful to you about that? Yeah. Also, I think we're so used to seeing people wearing crosses. I don't think we're as used to seeing a bunch, these as much because there's just not many people.
Right. I mean, that's the other crazy thing if you think about like and I'm going to get the number wrong, but it's like 16 million Jewish
Yeah, something
people
like that.
in the
15,
whole
16 million in the whole world.
world.
Yeah.
That's like teeny. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be
Of
friends
course
with them,
not.
or no, I'm not going to,
Right.
with anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean, from where I'm sitting, it just seems like there's a nice value alignment of the way Jews tend to, live their lives and the way you live yours. And there's, a lot of similarities there.
Yeah. And that's why, back to like talking about your wife converting, it's like, because I would say like probably, I don't know, but like the values that you think are Jewish could also be part of other faith.
Oh, totally. Where we align is like family first,
exactly.
tradition, being good people in the world,
right? Giving back,
all those things. Absolutely.
A little mitzvah here and there, right?
Exactly. Sebastian Maniscalco, the comedian, he married a Jewish woman, and he says like Italians and Jews, like same department, different division,
or different
something
food,
like that.
right?
Yeah, different food, something like that.
Yeah.
All right, so now we've come to a part of the show that is for our subscriber community only. It is called 5 Deep Questions. If you haven't yet joined our community, the Kehillah, you can do so by going to beingjewishpodcast.com/community. And today's 5 Deep Questions, we're going to get into beauty, business, and childhood family history with Cindy. So if you want to catch it, join up. And if not, I'll catch you on the flip side. All right, we're getting towards the end of the show here. I did mention in the intro that in 2019, you were part of a group that stepped in to save Nate and Al's, the, LA iconic deli, probably, I would say maybe second most iconic after Langert's. It's definitely up there.
What's the first one?
Langert's Deli?
I don't know that one.
How long have you lived in LA?
I only know the one on Fairfax.
Cantor's. I mean, there's, these got to be the top 3. It's like
okay.
Cantor.
Where's
maybe
the
Cantor's
other one?
is number 1, actually. You're right, in terms of like, but Langert's has the best deli food, I think, of all 3. Langer's is in MacArthur Park, like towards downtown.
Oh, okay, that's why.
It's been there for like 70 years or something. They have the best pastrami sandwich, I think, anywhere. Come at me. But we got to hook you up with some Langert's. Okay. Again, how and why? Like, how are you involved with saving Nate and Al's, and why?
Yeah, Nate and Al's is an institution, right? And I think for me, someone who didn't grow up in LA, it's still like a diner. Like it felt like that. So that's nostalgic for everybody. I think from any small town, you understand a diner. So I think maybe it felt familiar. But really, and my husband, loves the bagels, loves what's that food that I think is so weird? Eggs with crackers in it.
Like a
matzo brie.
Oh, matzo brie.
With jelly on it? I'm like, I don't understand this food.
Anybody eating matzo brie not on Passover is insane to me.
Okay, my husband will eat matzo brie at Nate and Al's. That is just not a flavor. There's several flavors, by the way, that we could discuss that I'm like, And also like on Passover, why is everything round in a ball?
On Passover?
Yeah, like a gefilte fish, a matzo ball. Everything's
what else
like,
besides those 2?
Knish.
Okay.
Everything's like a rock in your stomach. I'm like, I cannot eat like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so Nate and Al's is just somewhere we would go. And then I think when Shelley and Irving Azoff decided to raise some money from friends to put it together to keep it, we just wanted to do it because it's just somewhere, even though we live in Malibu, the idea of a LA without Nate and Al's in it just doesn't seem right.
That's so awesome. It's like, you guys are heroes. 2 final questions, and then we'll get to our lightning round.
Okay.
So I feel like this question we've sort of really been pointing towards, which is this Jewish part of your life. Like, do you feel that being Jewish in some way or being a part of the Jewish community belongs to you, or do you belong to it?
I've never thought about it. I think I have a lot of love and respect for what I would call the Jewish community, the Jewish culture, the Jewish ideology and values. They align a lot with the way that I was raised, like we talked about family and traditions. So I would say I'm Jewish adjacent. How's that? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the reason I ask is sort of not that it's mine to grant, but like to give you permission to feel like you have ownership of it. It's been such a part of your life as a mother and as a wife and so many other ways.
I have something to ask you, but it might not be good for this. But like several of my Jewish friends, they don't believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, that's to me like, I don't get that.
Okay, great. So love that question.
Okay.
We've talked about that on this show a lot.
Okay.
Because being Jewish is, as we said earlier, it's a tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the religious part of it is actually just one facet of all it is to be Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
When I did a DNA test a couple years ago, mine came back 99% Ashkenazi
That's
Jew.
my husband.
And then actually I got an email that was like, it's been updated. And I was like, oh, good. Now I'm going to get something interesting. 100% Ashkenazi Jew. So true blue.
Okay.
But, you can not believe in God at all and still be 100% Jewish.
I mean, I know the thing about questioning
Is huge.
I that I get, but it's like, yeah, it's weird, I think, for someone who's not Jewish to understand that, like I wouldn't say I'm a Christian but I don't believe in.
Right. Well, so here's the two differences.
Yeah.
One is Christianity is a straight up religion, right? And so it's you believe this, you're in. You don't believe it, you're out. Judaism is not a religion.
Yeah.
It is like the best parallel, honestly, is to think of like a Native American tribe. And like you're still part of that tribe, whether you believe the traditional religious beliefs about the God of the sky or whatever or not, that you are still the member of that tribe.
Right. I get that. But then, like, some of these same people don't have they'll have their kids they will have their kids bar mitzvah, or they'll still do Passover, or they'll still fast. And like, to me, those are about the religious part of it.
Yes and no. So it's I guess there's a difference between religious and necessarily, a tangible belief in the divine in a certain way. So there's meaning to those, but for a lot of people, it's about the tradition, right? It's just the personhood part. It's I'm a link in this chain that's existed for thousands of years. I'm not going to let the chain die with me. And I like this part of the chain. I like the culture. I like these beautiful traditions that I did with my grandma. Like, these are important to me and part of who I am.
Right.
But, I don't pray all the time because that's not important to me or whatever it is. So you get to sort of be a little bit of a, pick and choose Jew.
Yeah.
And you keep the parts that have meaning to you.
Right.
And you do, I mean, that's a very modern form of
Yeah.
Judaism. There are, the more Orthodox Jews would say absolutely not. You need to do it all. And that's what being Jewish is following all of the rules under God and whatever. And I've even had an Orthodox friend ask me, like, so conservative and Reformed Jews, like, if you're not doing it for Hashem, like God, like, what is it about for you? Like, he hadn't even considered that idea. So there's a whole spectrum and range to all this stuff, which for me is what I love about being Jewish, is that it's a spectrum. And so what this show is all about is there's no one right way to be Jewish, at least not in my book.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for other potential allies who might be out there and who are, for whatever reason, are too afraid to use their platforms to stand up for stand by Jews?
It's like that question, right? Like, how do you want to be in the world? And again, it's not like I was like, how can I be the best ally to the Jewish community? But certain things are just obvious to me. It's like to say I stand against anti-Semitism. That seems very clear and easy. So if you feel something, if you're connected to an idea or a thought organically, I think it's way worse to keep quiet. I don't know. Like, for me, I would feel like a coward, or I would feel like I'm not being the person in the world that I want to be.
You heard it from Cindy Crawford. Don't be a coward. All right. We're going to finish off, as I like to do, with a lightning round. If you could bring back one 90s trend, what would it be?
Oh, I like vintage Levi's.
Is that gone?
No, but like...
All I know now, it's the clothes are all so baggy. I think it looks terrible on everybody.
Yeah, but like, like the ones with the little red tag on the red tag Levi's, like, that's a good one.
Nice. Do you have a favorite or like beloved shoot or photo that you can remember? Or too many?
Too many. I had certain photographers, but even that is like from Helmut Newton to Herbritz to Irving Penn, Avedon. Like, I was so blessed to work with like literally like the masters.
How much of the outcome of a shoot is the photographer?
Most of it. I mean, it's like a film, right? A film is like a still picture is just, you're still telling a story, but like without words. and without music and without movement. It's like a still moment. But so I think the best shoots is like the collaboration between the photographer, the stylist, editor, and the model, hair and makeup. Like we're all trying to tell the same story. And those are the best shoots.
What is the most important piece of advice you've shared with your daughter Kaya as she's gone on her modeling career?
And it was the same advice for both my kids at their first jobs. My son worked at a smoothie shop, which was be on time, be prepared, and stay off your phone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Advice we can all use.
Exactly.
Sneakers or heels?
Heels.
I figured it was going to be heels. Desert island fashion item. You can only keep one.
Bikini.
Oh, I mean, that's a good choice. Okay, Rande, co-founder of Casamigos.
Yes.
Tequila. You and I both share a love of spicy tequila, I learned. So you guys have the Casamigas SKU, which is jalapeno infused, which is awesome. What's your favorite way to drink it?
I think like the reason that we did that was I like a skinny margarita. And so a skinny spicy.
Right.
So like that on the rocks with club soda. It's like a super skinny margarita. You can put a little lime in there, but I'm just saying like you get that little heat. Like I don't think you need to, I don't like drinks that are too complicated.
Keep it clean, yeah.
Keep it clean.
And keep the sugar down.
Exactly.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you actually like Pepsi?
I love Pepsi.
Come on.
I love Pepsi as a brand.
There we go.
I do. I think they're a great American brand. Do I drink
For
Pepsi
sure.
all the time? No. And I think, I mean, I don't think it should be drank that way, but like sometimes like if we're on a beach and it's like hot, like does a cold Pepsi taste good? Sure.
Yeah, only if they don't have Diet Coke. Okay. And then the last question, which we ask of all of our guests.
Okay.
Challah, which I'm assuming you've eaten quite a bit of at this point.
Sure, yes.
Do you rip it or do you slice it?
Oh, you rip it.
Boom.
Is
I don't know
that
why I
the
even
right
bother.
answer?
There's no right answer. It's
Okay.
just basically 95% of the guests say rip. Me, I slice.
Well, for French toast, you slice.
There it is. Yep. You got to
mean,
slice.
you gotta
slice
slice.
to preserve.
Yes.
So I sometimes like to
Okay.
slice. All right. Cindy Crawford, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
an amazing ally. Thank you for being here. This has been
It
so
was
awesome.
fun. Thank you.
Still iconic, still gorgeous, like a fine wine, she's only got more and more to offer. Her answers to my 5 deep questions were really fascinating. If you want to check them out, head to beingjewishpodcast.com/community. Join the Kehillah to get today's segment, more bonus content, and all kinds of fun goodies forevermore. Also, if you happen to notice these shoes I'm wearing, these are the Air Maccabee Jonah Platt collab. You can get those on the website too under our merch section and use code JP18 to get a little discount. Happy New Year, guys. It's going to be a kick-ass 2026, and I will see you all right back here for the next runway-ready episode of Being Jewish with me, Jonah Platt.